And welcome to the new episode of the eCom Q&A, where you can ask me all sort of questions about e-commerce, Google Ads, Facebook ads, etc. It's the second episode, and so far you're sending me a ton of questions, which is really, really awesome. Please keep them coming. Also, post your questions below this video as well. And if you want to join me on my free high-ticket live training next week, make sure that you check the link in the description and in the first comment to join this training. This being said, let's get started. We have 4 questions today that I want to answer, and I hope that you will get a lot of value out of it. So the first question is coming right here. And in there, Kapil asked, what's your thought on smart ads? I tried and failed a couple of times. Well, smart ads, for those of you who don't know, so smart shopping ads, is a new ad product of Google. And what they did is they use machine learning to determine like when your shopping ads should show up and how much to bid and all these kind of things. And I must say I didn't test them that much yet, but the first real test, so the first real data came in for me, and in one particular account where we were selling pretty cheap items for like between $5 and $15, which is very uncommon for me. We are seeing some really good success. So the conversions are pretty high. We are highly outperforming the average shopping campaign that we had, and the return on ad spend was also much higher. Now, one thing about smart ads, though, you need good conversion data and good conversion history. If you don't have that, then you cannot use them at all. If you don't have the minimum conversions, I think it's 30 or 50, just as with targets, or 20. I think it's 20 conversions. I'm not entirely sure right now. But the point is, the more conversions you have, the better. If you just have this minimum amount, it's pretty difficult. Like I tested it so far on I think on 3 accounts, so on 2 clients and one of mine. And if you don't have enough conversion data in shopping yet, then this is really difficult. So I highly recommend that you wait until you have enough sales, as many as possible. But of course, I also recommend as soon as you have the minimum, at least do one campaign where you test it versus the normal campaigns. So the next question is, what's the minimum search per month you're looking for? Well, this highly depends on the product. If it's a high ticket product, you need less searches because, with 5,000 searches a month, if you sell the product for $500, this is still or can still be profitable. But the cheaper a product gets, the more searches you need. So if you sell like a free plus shipping type of product or a $10 product, it is impossible to make good profits if it just has 10,000 searches per month, right? This means 300 per day. And if you get like a 5% click-through rate or something, and then calculate this with 2% conversion rate or something, then it's not really worth the effort. So the more expensive it is, the less searches it needs. I'm thinking that you talk about search ads here, but same goes for shopping, of course. And in general, I tend to stick at a minimum of 10,000. If it doesn't have more than 10,000 searches, or at least 10,000 searches, I tend to not use it as long as it's not a really expensive item. So this is for me like something to stay at. So 10,000 or more is a pretty good number, but there is no real minimum or maximum here. So what would you do if you find a good product that AliExpress is advertising for on Google? That's a really good question, because you see that with like AliExpress, Walmart, all these big companies, even though Amazon stopped advertising products on Google Shopping ads. And what I can say is you need to stand out with your pictures and your titles. So what I see is people literally just importing from AliExpress, and they just, don't do anything. They don't change anything. They just use the simple pictures, the same titles more or less. And of course, if you show up right next to them and they are much cheaper, nobody will click on your ad. So what I recommend is actually that you do it the other way around. In my eCom PPC Academy course, I'm explaining that in depth, where I talk about researching first and then deciding what to sell, instead of going with, I want to sell this product, and then you have to somehow beat your competition. So it's way easier if you look at the competition first, you check what's missing, what can I go into, and find out what is a good product to sell now, what is a good image, what should be your bid, and etc., so that you can really get the most out of your shopping campaigns. As I said, I described this in the eCom PPC Academy course. You can check this in the description if you want. But in general, make sure that you are somehow standing out, whether it's visually with the product, whether it's, by having a premium product, a premium pricing in a segment that is very, very common, where every product is basically the same. If you have something like this where every product is the same on shopping, make sure that you come up with a product that is different and that stands out, and so that people click and ultimately also convert. And the last question we have here is when to scale worldwide or top GDP countries. So let me check whether I actually get this right. When to scale worldwide or top GDP countries. First of all, I only actually scale in top GDP countries, so I don't really, except for Google, Facebook ads. On Facebook ads, I often use worldwide, but when it comes to Google, I think I only used United States, UK, Canada, New Zealand, Germany, and a few other European countries. So I always scale in top GDP countries only. And the way I do it first, I typically don't test countries in the beginning, because I believe if you test, for example, UK versus US, of course, there are big differences and you may be able to make sales in one of them and not in the other. But to me, the differences are too small. Like, I much rather test the copy of an ad. I much rather test the product itself. I much rather test a bidding strategy, because to me, the differences between US and UK or US and Canada are too small. And I believe that the customers themselves are pretty similar in these countries. So the times I would split test countries actually is when, for example, you want to sell in the United States and India, because I believe there are highly different culture, highly different people, different incomes and things like that. So there it makes sense to split test a country and see whether you sell better in India or in the United States. But if you have the choice between a lot of different high GDP countries, first tier countries, how they're also called, I recommend that you start with one, normally United States in most cases, and see like what product works well, what ad works well, what copy and everything. And once you have that, and once you want to scale and take it to the next level, then you can check on other top tier, high tier countries and basically copy the same ads and try them in this other country that you are trying to target. So this is my advice on this one here. I highly focus on one country only, max it out, and then move to another GDP country or a top GDP country. Or what might also be the case if, for example, we have a recent example with a new client that I just took over 1 month ago, and we were selling a highly competitive product, and we started with the United States, but it's so difficult to sell it in there. Like, the competition is so crazy that we tried immediately to sell it in the UK, which actually went better. So we first tried with UK. We've spent like $500 or $1,000, made some sales, but realized, okay, this is brutal. Now we went to the UK with that, and we are getting like 30% or 50% less CPA. This doesn't always work. Like, sometimes they're very similar. Usually, if you have crazy CPAs in the United States, you don't have really low ones in the UK. But of course, there is a difference, and usually United States and surprisingly New Zealand, in our case, tend to be the highest. So it definitely makes sense to test and scale with other GDP countries. But yeah, like I said, I don't test low GDP. And also, of course, you want to make sure that they are English speaking so that you are not like having this language barrier as well. Yeah, guys, these were the 4 questions that I answered today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get some value out of it here today. As I said, please keep more questions coming. Of course, Google Ads, but also other stuff. High ticket is a big new topic, as I told you in the beginning with my free training. If you have any questions about high ticket in general, keep them coming. Google Ads, Facebook ads, influencer marketing, e-commerce in general, marketing strategy, and all these type of things. But of course, also anything else that you may think of. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned something here today. If you did, please leave a like and let me know what you want me to answer next. And of course, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of our Q&As and that you can also join in the next one. Probably I will do a live Q&A soon as well, which I think is pretty cool, so that you can ask me questions and I can answer them right off the bat. So this being said, thanks for watching and bye.